Hey family, and welcome back. This is episode 2 of my mental health journey. For those of you that are just joining the journey, let me just give you a little background. So my name is Maya. All my friends call me Mai. I am doing this thing called my mental health journey, playing off the fact that my name is Maya. And basically it is a very candid, very raw, very real and transparent look into what my life is looking like as I'm going through the mental health journey myself personally. So I asked if it would be beneficial or helpful to share that with the public, and I got the response that yes, it would be. So I'm basically documenting my journey as I'm going through or journeying on my road to restoration. And so that's what these video diaries are. So this is just episode 2. If you missed one, go back and watch that one, and then of course catch up with us here. I'm trying to keep them less than 15 minutes because I definitely just want to kind of like walk you through it as I'm walking through it. I've been in therapy for about a month now, consistently, I'll say that. And I can already see that it's definitely a journey. So make sure that you're subscribed to my website. That way, when I send out the reminders that the videos are posted, you don't miss anything. Make sure that you're following me on my social medias. I will tag them in this video. When you get to my website, like I said, make sure that you're subscribed to the website so that you can get the notifications. And on YouTube, when you subscribe to YouTube, make sure that you turn your notifications on because every time I post, you'll be notified. So I think that's all the housekeeping stuff. So episode 2 of my journey or my road to restoration, my own personal mental health journey. So today, ironically enough, I'm doing this video after my therapy session. And first things first, there's nothing wrong with you if you're in therapy. It almost could be something wrong with you if you don't think you need it. So let's just start there. I was a person for a long time that thought that as long as Christ was my savior, I was good to go. Christ and the Bible was all I needed to fight this wicked, wicked world. I am finding that that is still the truth. However, in order to unlearn some of the toxic behaviors that I've adopted as my own and joined into my DNA that had no business being there, therapy is definitely where I'm learning to detach from unhealthy attachments to even things that I've accepted as just being what it is. For a long time, it's just who I am, it's just who I've become or who God made me to be, which is not the truth. God did not make me an angry person. He did not make me TTG. For those of you that are not well versed in Ebonics, that is code for train to go, meaning I will slap you at any given moment. That's not saying that God didn't give me the spirit of slapping and praying, but I shouldn't have been as angry as I was. I would notice that some of my responses to things were not healthy. And I recognized after a complete meltdown that I probably needed professional help. So I actually am finding freedom in saying I needed help, I am getting help. So I needed to do the work, I am doing the work. So let's just start there. So in episode 2, what should I tell you? Therapy is a lot harder than that cute little post or the memes or the little inspirational quotes that people post on social media. Mental health, counseling, therapy, etc., so forth and so on, is hard. I was having a perfectly good day. There was nothing wrong. There was nothing that had upset me. I didn't feel like there was anything really to discuss, and I was going to cancel it, but I'm doing this consistent thing. So if I'm committed to it, if I said I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So I get in therapy, we're talking, chit-chatting the first couple of minutes just to kind of do the whole, checking in, making sure everything is working. And as soon as we got into it, I felt like she attacked me. Not in a bad way, but she asked me a question, a very simple question. And my response was choked back by a lot of tears. Therapy, what I'm recognizing is that it is uncovering things that I may have covered up just by routine and regimen, things that I've suppressed due to traumatic events that I don't want to relive. Like if you ever have met me in person or my ministry personally, I am a person that does not mind telling you my story. I've told it a million times, so I do not mind sharing the candid details of my testimony. With that, I recognize that the parts that I've already said, and I've said a million times over, those parts don't bother me to say again. You can ask me a million questions about that. But those that are a little bit more sensitive, I don't repeat those as often. And I know that the Bible tells us that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. But I recognize by going to therapy that there are certain parts of my testimony that I am very well versed in. And I can tell you everything. If you ask me, I'm like, I'm not a victim. Don't feel bad for me. But there are other parts of my testimony that it's just like, if someone says, hey, so what about this? Because I don't say it as often, it's almost like out of sight, out of mind. But those are the parts that I probably need to do more work in and actually communicate those parts of my story more, because it's not as easy for me to discuss those parts. And when my therapist hit it today, it just was like, it was like a volcano. It was an emotional eruption. It was a struggle because my right mind told me, don't say that. You don't say, like, don't respond to that. Because I've been conditioned to become this very well put together machine. So I show up a certain way. And what she was asking me caused me to, I couldn't show up as anything else other than the very raw emotion that she got by asking me the question. And I say all that to say that I believe that in life, as adults, as functioning members of society, that we have become these versions of ourselves that does not showcase any type of childhood trauma, that does not showcase any childhood abandonment issues, that does not showcase learned behaviors that you shouldn't have, responses to certain things that we shouldn't have. But it's who we've become. Because while we didn't have necessarily a say in how we were raised as children, we definitely had a say as to who we became as adults. And so we picked the colleges we went to. We picked the professions that we wanted to be a part of. We picked the side ministries or the side businesses or the entrepreneurial paths that we wanted. You don't want to talk about certain things that you've put away because you're not that person anymore, or it doesn't matter anymore because we're not there. But truth of the matter is, and what I'm learning is, everything that you won't touch and that you haven't dealt with from your childhood is just that child screaming to show up in your adult life. Basically, as she said it, photo bombing your adult life. So everywhere that I don't want the childhood Maya, my family used to call me Yaya. Everywhere I don't want Yaya to show up in my adult life of this put together person of who Maya has become, or even Yaya is still very much showing up in situations, in relationships. It's an emotional struggle between the adult me and the youthful me. It's a struggle between Maya and Yaya. And I didn't recognize that because the things that had happened to me as a child, I put those things away. I didn't recognize it. Childhood me was still showing up in adult relationships that Maya was experiencing because unhealed traumas, unaddressed trauma responses, or unaddressed situations, because you typically don't have to deal with your childhood traumas day to day, or you don't think that. But being in therapy, it takes the Band-Aid off of basically a gunshot wound. We think that it's a splinter, but the more they get into it, it's doing more damage being lodged in there than it would if they could just take it out. And so I feel as though, if I'm being perfectly honest, that I'm on an operating table, completely exposed. I just feel like I'm in an operating room, completely vulnerable, completely naked, completely exposed. And I have nowhere to go because I have to undergo surgery. And it's not hard in the spiritual sense when you're trying to cultivate your relationship with God and you have to let God do the hard work. You have to let God deal with things that you don't want him to deal with. That's not easy, and neither is going to therapy and having another adult individual pick at things that you don't want to be picked with, or touch areas that weren't sensitive until you started to touch them. And the two simultaneously, child by, it's just like who I thought I was on either ends of the spectrum are both being attacked. God is attacking me as I'm maturing in my faith. My therapist is attacking me as I'm maturing in life as an adult woman in society. Both of them don't feel good while they're happening, but I just know that the end result of what's being created and what's being cultivated is something that I need, and anyone that comes in contact with me needs, because they deserve the best version of me. But also that little girl that I continue to ignore, I have just tried to silence, she deserves a chance to speak. And be very clear and very transparent about what it is that she wants to say. Because obviously the little girl in me that is trying to speak and trying to communicate was silenced for so long, doesn't she deserve a chance to speak and be heard as well? So that's just episode 2 of what I am learning and what I have learned. Y'all, this work is hard. It requires me to be very transparent. I thought it would almost be senseless for me to try to go and put myself together while I gave you this video if I'm not going to be very authentic. So unless I'm coming from somewhere or going to do something, most of these videos I will probably look like a homeless panda as I do today. This is how I went to my real job, so this is how y'all can get this video today. So judge your mother. But yeah, this is just kind of where I'm at. And in healing, I felt like it'd be best if I just take off all the masks that I'm so accustomed to putting on. While I'm a very real person, I know that there are areas that I would never just walk out of my door and talk to people about. And those are the areas that are probably hindering my full deliverance. And so I am doing the work. It is hard, it is uncomfortable, but I'm doing it. So I encourage you to take a look or take a listen to your inner self, the child that, maybe your childhood, you were silenced and you don't feel as though that young person needs to be heard anymore. Maybe give an ear to hear what your younger self would say. As the adult you, what would you say to the younger you? And kind of start there. That's where I'm starting. What's funny is years ago, I had absentee parents. So my mother chose not to be a mother and my father chose not to be a father, and both of them are still living. I wrote a letter to both of them that I never intended to give either of them, but I blogged letters to both of them. I'm basically speaking from the childhood me of what I needed from my parents and even the damage that they did to the adult me. And like I said, I sealed them, blogged about them, never intended for either of my parents to see them. But now I feel like I need to write a letter to my younger self, not necessarily telling her it more or anything, but more so listening to what she wants to say back to me. So I would challenge you to do the same thing, even if it's not your younger self. If it's a parent that needs to hear what the younger you needed to say, or things that you need to say that you don't know how to have volume to the voice to say right now, write it out. So my next task for myself is to write my younger self a letter, not a closed-ended letter. I want it to be an open-ended letter so that while I'll tell her what I think or what I've learned through the years becoming the adult me, I'm also lending an ear for her to talk back to me for the things that she wants to have sound to say. And that's kind of where we are in episode 2 of my mental health journey. So I pray that this reaches you. If it's not for you, maybe share with someone who you think it could benefit or could help. Again, don't expect the real cute edited videos because that's not the purpose of this. This is just to be very transparent and let you see how God and therapy really do go together. So make sure that you're subscribed and you're tuning in. And we'll go from there. So until episode 3, I love you guys so much. Keep me prayed up because this is a really hard journey, but I'm committed to it, so I can't quit. And comment, send me some emails. Let me know what y'all think about it so far. Are you in therapy? Are you thinking about getting in therapy? If you want my opinion before you even email and ask me, do I think you should get into therapy? Yes, I do. I have a link and a list of bomb Black Christian therapists. If you aren't into Black Christian therapists, I have a link that gives you, basically, it lets you filter out what you're looking for, and it gives you a list of people in your local area. So that's what I did. I love my therapist. She's amazing. She is definitely for me. And so, yeah. Email me, let me know what you think, what you want me to discuss next. I've gotten a few emails about some of the things that you guys have thought thus far, and I appreciate the feedback. I love you for the kind comments, and of course, I appreciate your prayers. So yeah, we'll keep this thing going. I'll jump on here. We're going to call these Mental Health Mondays, so I'll probably do them on Mondays or post them on Mondays, and we'll go from that point on. So I love you guys so much. So until next time.